All right, let's dive right in, shall we? John Tyler, 10th President of the United States. Not exactly a name that gets the pulse racing right.
Well, you'd be surprised.
I mean, he's not exactly a Jefferson or a Lincoln.
No, but his presidency? Oh boy, it's like a political thriller novel full of twists and turns you just wouldn't believe.
Okay, you've got my attention.
He's often overlooked, Tyler.
Yeah.
But his story really gets to the heart of presidential power and the whole tangled mess of political parties in the early U.S.
Okay, so for our listeners who might not remember their 10th grade history class, let's set the stage. We're talking 1841, the country's still finding its feet, and bam, Tyler becomes president after just 31 days as vice president.
31 days. It's wild, right?
That alone is crazy, but here's the real kicker. This had never happened before. Tyler's literally setting the precedent for what happens when a president dies in office. I mean, talk about pressure.
Huge pressure. The Constitution, it was kind of vague on the whole vice president stepping up thing.
Vague is an understatement.
So Tyler's actions really shaped how we interpret that part of the Constitution even to this day.
And let's not forget the political climate. He steps into this firestorm and pretty much says, thanks, but I'm doing things my way.
Yeah.
Especially when it came to, what was it?
States' rights. Oh, yeah. He was a staunch advocate for states' rights, even when it put him at odds with his own party.
The Whigs, right.
Exactly, the Whigs. Remember, he came into office with William Henry Harrison, a Whig. But Tyler's views on federal power, well, let's just say they didn't exactly align with the Whig party platform.
So you've got this huge rift developing within the party. Was it just about disagreeing on policy, or was there something more fundamental going on?
It was deeper than just policy disagreements. The Whigs, led by Henry Clay, they wanted a strong national bank, tariffs to protect American industries, federal power driving economic development.
Classic Whig agenda.
Exactly. But Tyler, he saw all this as federal overreach. He believed in a limited government, states having more autonomy. It was a fundamental clash of political philosophies.
So it's like this epic showdown. You've got Clay, this political mastermind, expecting Tyler to fall in line. And Tyler's basically like, nope, I'm the president, and I veto anything I think violates the Constitution. What happens next? I'm on the edge of my seat here.
Hold on tight, because this is where it gets really juicy. Almost his entire cabinet resigns.
Wait, seriously?
They felt betrayed, like he was undermining their entire agenda. Imagine the headlines.
President Tyler, public enemy number one. I can only imagine the absolute chaos in Washington. A president with no cabinet, that's unheard of.
It was a political earthquake. And to add insult to injury, the Whigs, they kicked him out of the party, called him his accidency.
Ouch.
Yeah, basically saying he wasn't a legitimate president. There were even rumblings about impeachment.
So now he's a president without a party, facing constant opposition from Congress. I mean, how do you even govern under those circumstances? Is anything getting done?
Well, it speaks volumes about Tyler's personality. Stubborn, some might say. Incredibly resilient, too. He wouldn't back down from his principles, even when he was completely isolated politically.
That takes guts.
It does. Now, domestically, things were, shall we say, a bit rocky.
To put it mildly.
But in foreign policy, well, that's where Tyler had some surprising successes, some real wins on the international stage.
Really? Let's talk about those. What were some of his biggest accomplishments in foreign policy? I'm intrigued.
Well, one of his most significant achievements was the Webster-Ashburton Treaty of 1842.
Ah, the Webster-Ashburton Treaty. I vaguely remember that from history class. It was about some sort of border dispute, right?
Exactly. It settled a long-standing boundary dispute between the U.S. and Great Britain up in the Maine territory.
Oh, Maine. So we're talking potentially going to war with Great Britain again. That's not something you want to mess around with.
Absolutely. It was a tense situation. This dispute had been simmering for decades. But Tyler, working with his Secretary of State Daniel Webster, they managed to hammer out a peaceful settlement.
So another high-stakes situation, and Tyler comes through. He seems to thrive under pressure.
Yeah, you could say that. He had a real talent for navigating those tricky political waters.
And that wasn't his only foreign policy win, right? There was also something about opening up trade with China.
Oh, you're thinking of the Treaty of Wangea. Signed in 1844, that opened up trade with China.
Right, the Treaty of Wangea. That was a big deal for American merchants.
Yeah.
They were really eager to tap into that Chinese market. It was a whole new world of possibilities.
It was a huge shift in American foreign policy. We started looking more towards the Pacific, expanding our influence in that region.
And Tyler was at the forefront of that. It's interesting. On the one hand, you have him championing states' rights, battling his own party. And then on the other hand, he's making these bold moves in foreign policy, expanding American power on the world stage. It's a fascinating contradiction.
It really is. It's one of the things that makes Tyler such a compelling figure. He doesn't fit neatly into those boxes we try to put presidents in. He was complex, often contradictory, and that's what makes him so interesting to study.
Absolutely. Okay, let's talk about another one of those complex and controversial issues, the annexation of Texas. This was a huge deal during Tyler's presidency, right?
It was a defining issue. Tyler was passionate about bringing Texas into the United States.
He saw it as crucial for the nation's future, didn't he? Manifest destiny and all that.
Exactly. He believed Texas, with all its resources and strategic location, would be an incredible addition to the Union.
But it wasn't just about land and resources, was it?
Yeah.
The annexation of Texas was tied up with the whole issue of slavery, which was already dividing the nation.
You're right. The potential expansion of slavery into Texas was a huge point of contention. It created massive opposition, especially from anti-slavery groups who saw it as a way to strengthen the institution of slavery.
So Tyler's facing resistance from all sides on this. How did he manage to pull it off? How did Texas actually become part of the U.S.?
Well, Tyler was a smart politician. He knew he couldn't get annexation through Congress in a straightforward way. So he came up with a plan to bypass the usual legislative process.
Let me guess, executive order.
Not quite. He negotiated a treaty with Texas, which only needed a two-thirds majority in the Senate for approval.
Ah, clever move. That's a much lower bar than getting a majority in both the House and Senate.
Exactly. But even then, it wasn't smooth sailing. The treaty failed to get enough votes in the Senate. A lot of anti-slavery Whigs just wouldn't budge.
So what did Tyler do? Did he just give up?
Oh no, he didn't give up that easily. He spent the last year of his presidency rallying support for annexation. He went directly to the American people, arguing it was vital for national security and economic prosperity.
He went public with his campaign. That's a bold move, especially for a president who wasn't exactly popular with his own party.
It was a risky move, but it paid off. In the final days of his administration, he managed to get a joint resolution through Congress, annexing Texas just days before he left office. It was a big win for Tyler and a major turning point in American history.
A turning point indeed. And we all know the consequences of that decision. The annexation of Texas played a major role in starting the Mexican-American War and further escalated tensions over slavery, which ultimately led to the Civil War.
Absolutely. Tyler's decision to annex Texas was a pivotal moment in American history, one that had ripple effects far beyond his presidency. Historians are still debating its implications today.
It's a decision that continues to shape our understanding of the past. So we've covered Tyler's controversial presidency, his surprising successes in foreign policy, and his legacy-defining decision to annex Texas. What happened after he left office? Did he finally get to enjoy a peaceful retirement?
Well, he did retire to his plantation in Virginia, but the political world just couldn't seem to let him go.
He just couldn't stay away, could he?
He played a key role in the events leading up to the Civil War. In fact, he was deeply involved in trying to find a compromise that would prevent the southern states from seceding.
Wait, so the guy known for being a staunch states' rights advocate is trying to prevent states from seceding? That seems a little ironic, doesn't it?
It might seem that way, but Tyler was deeply committed to preserving the Union, even if it meant compromising on some of his long-held beliefs about states' rights. He even served as chairman of the Virginia Peace Convention in 1861, which was a last-ditch effort to find a peaceful solution to the crisis.
So he's trying to play peacemaker. Did it work?
Unfortunately, no. The convention failed to come up with a compromise that would satisfy both the North and the South. And as we know, the nation ultimately descended into civil war.
And what about Tyler? How did he react to the outbreak of the war?
Well, when Virginia seceded, Tyler sided with his home state and joined the Confederacy. He even served in the Confederate Congress, a decision that many saw as a betrayal of his earlier Unionist stance.
That's a sad ending to his story. It's hard to reconcile the Tyler who tried to prevent the war with the Tyler who ultimately supported the Confederacy.
It's a complex legacy. It reminds us that even those who hold high office are not immune to the passions and prejudices of their time. Tyler's story is a cautionary tale about the dangers of political division and the difficult choices leaders face in times of crisis.
It certainly makes you think about the weight of those decisions and how they can have unintended consequences that ripple through history. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the life and legacy of John Tyler, what are some key takeaways for our listeners? Why is he such an important figure in American history, even though he might not be a household name?
I think one of the biggest takeaways from Tyler's story is that history is rarely neat and tidy.
Yeah, it's definitely not a straight line from point A to point B.
Right. I mean, here's a guy who was never meant to be president. He kind of stumbled into the Oval Office, fights with his own party, gets branded with this embarrassing nickname, his accidency, and yet he manages to accomplish some significant things,
Mm.
domestically, in foreign policy, you name it.
It's almost like a Shakespearean drama, isn't it? This unexpected rise to power, the betrayals, all the political scheming. It definitely reminds you that leadership is rarely straightforward. There are
Hmm.
always going to be setbacks, moments of brilliance, and sometimes even regret.
Absolutely. And I think Tyler's legacy also shows us that our understanding of history is always changing. He's not usually the first name that comes to mind when you think of American presidents, but when you delve deeper into his story, you realize just how much he shaped the course of American politics.
Hmm.
I mean, he set precedents for what happens when a president dies in office, he challenged the traditional relationship between the executive and legislative branches, and his actions had consequences that reached far beyond his presidency, from westward expansion to the Civil War.
We've talked a lot about Tyler's political strategies, his clashes with the Whigs, his foreign policy successes. But what really sticks with me is this idea of him as a man of principle. He clearly stood by his convictions, even when it meant alienating his allies and facing harsh criticism. That had to take a lot of courage, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. And it brings up some interesting questions about what it means to be a leader in politics. Is it more important to be popular or to stick to your principles, to compromise or to stand your ground? Tyler's story doesn't offer any easy answers, but it makes us wrestle with those questions, which are still relevant today.
It really does. It makes you wonder how someone like Tyler would navigate today's political landscape. I mean, could a president who's so willing to go against his party even survive in this day and age? Would he be praised for standing up for his beliefs, or would he be criticized as an uncompromising ideologue?
That's a thought-provoking question. It's tough to say for sure, but my guess is that Tyler's independent nature wouldn't go over well in our current political climate, which is so heavily influenced by party loyalty and partisan politics.
It's a good point. Maybe there's a lesson in there for all of us, no matter what our political views are. It's a reminder that it's crucial to have thoughtful discussions, to be open to different points of view, and to value principles over blind loyalty.
Couldn't agree more, and I think that's what makes studying history so important. It lets us step back from our own time and place to understand the choices and difficulties faced by those who came before us, and hopefully to gain insights that can guide us through the complexities of our own world.
Well said. And I think John Tyler, with all his complexities and contradictions, is a great example of that. He might not be the most celebrated president, but his story is an essential part of American history. And by examining his life and legacy, we can better understand not just the past, but also the ongoing challenges and opportunities of leadership in a democracy.
Absolutely. He reminds us that history is full of surprises, and often it's the less remembered figures who offer the most insightful lessons. So the next time you come across John Tyler's name, maybe you'll take a moment to think back to this deep dive. You'll remember the unexpected turns, the political battles, the highs and lows, and you'll appreciate the nuanced legacy of a man who dared to be different.
And maybe, just maybe, it'll inspire you to explore those lesser-known corners of history and discover the amazing stories that are waiting to be told. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the life and times of John Tyler. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep learning.